Well, in his first address since the Pahalgam terror attack and the military response Operation Sindoor, Prime Minister Modi declared Operation Sindoor as a defining shift in India's security doctrine. It marks an emergence of a new normal for India and for the world. With 26 civilians brutally killed in Pahalgam, Prime Minister Modi has justified India's assertive retaliation in the form of Operation Sindoor. He has framed it as morally necessary and strategically calibrated. The Prime Minister said that while it was true that the present time was not an age of war, it was also true that this is not an age of terrorism. Prime Minister Modi has said that India has drawn new red lines on terror emanating from Pakistan. The nation has also managed to underline that India has not just suspended Operation Sindoor because Pakistan rushed to the world after suffering damage, and that it would closely watch the activities of Pakistan. Let's take a look at all the key takeaways from the Prime Minister's speech yesterday.
पाकिस्तान की तरफ से जब ये कहा गया कि उसकी ओर से आगे कोई आतंकी गतिविधि और सैन्य दुस्साहस नहीं दिखाया जाएगा, तो भारत ने भी उस पर विचार किया। और मैं फिर दोहरा रहा हूं, हमने पाकिस्तान के आतंकी और सैन्य ठिकानों पर अपनी जवाबी कार्रवाई को अभी सिर्फ स्थगित किया है। आने वाले दिनों में हम पाकिस्तान के हर कदम को इस कसौटी पर मापेंगे कि वो क्या रवैया अपनाता है। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने आतंक के खिलाफ लड़ाई में एक नई लकीर खींच दी है, एक नया पैमाना, न्यू नॉर्मल तय कर दिया है। पहला, भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ तो मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया जाएगा। हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर जवाब देकर रहेंगे। हर उस जगह जाकर कठोर कार्रवाई करेंगे जहां से आतंक की जड़ें निकलती हैं। दूसरा, कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की आड़ में पनप रहे आतंकी ठिकानों पर भारत सटीक और निर्णायक प्रहार करेगा। तीसरा, हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे। पाकिस्तानी फौज, पाकिस्तान की सरकार जिस तरह आतंकवाद को खाद पानी दे रहे हैं, वो एक दिन पाकिस्तान को ही समाप्त कर देगा। पाकिस्तान को अगर बचना है तो उसे अपने टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का सफाया करना ही होगा। इसके अलावा शांति का कोई रास्ता नहीं है। भारत का मत एकदम स्पष्ट है। टेरर और टॉक एक साथ नहीं हो सकते। टेरर और ट्रेड एक साथ नहीं चल सकते, और पानी और खून भी एक साथ नहीं बह सकता। मैं आज विश्व समुदाय को भी कहूंगा, हमारी घोषित नीति रही है, अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो टेररिज्म पर ही होगी। अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर पीओके उस पर ही होगी।
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his first address to the nation after Operation Sindoor, making it clear that India has inflicted so much damage to Pakistan's air bases and military establishment that its DGMO on the 10th of May called up his Indian counterpart to ensure that Indian military would not take further action. In fact, the Prime Minister has also said that no nuclear blackmail will be tolerated by India anymore. He has reiterated his government's stated policy that talks and terror cannot go hand in hand. My colleagues Aishwarya Jain and also Shiv Arur join us now. Shiv Arur is in Jammu and Kashmir and Aishwarya is in Delhi. Aishwarya, to you first, a speech with a lot of takeaways. Prime Minister making it clear that terror, trade and talks cannot go together, saying that even blood and water will not flow together. So this clearly gives us a lot of indications what the future can look like with respect to India's approach to terror, isn't it? Help our viewers understand what are the significant takeaways from the Prime Minister's, perhaps one of his strongest speeches ever. Help us understand what would be the key highlights.
Well, absolutely, Vasudha. In fact, this was one of the strongest statement on terrorism of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, one of the sharpest attack on the terror camps and Pak-sponsored terrorism. Prime Minister Narendra Modi making it very clear that Operation Sindoor is a new normal and this is going to be the policy of our country. Terror and talks can't go hand in hand, terror and trade can't go hand in hand, water and blood can't flow together. It is only now if we will talk to Pakistan, then that will be on terrorism or Pakistan occupied Kashmir. No further blackmailing on the nuclear would be tolerated, and India will continue to neutralize the terror camps. India will not distinguish between the Pak government-sponsored terror outfits and the terrorism out there. And if there is any future terrorism activity in the country, then India will hit hard as they have, and they have proved it during Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor is dedicated to India's Nari Shakti, is what Prime Minister also stated. Prime Minister went on to say that Pakistan tried to remove the Sindoor of our women, and this in reference to of course, the women and children who have witnessed this horrific bloodbath at Pahalgam, where 26 innocent lives were lost. But it is a befitting reply that has been given to Pakistan, and it is also Prime Minister who stated that in the future as well, if any sort of activity, a terror activity would be there, then certainly it will be considered as an act of war, and India will give a befitting reply. Strong message from Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday in his address to the nation. Yes, politics have erupted over it as well, Vasudha. In fact, Congress party once again stated that why Prime Minister's address just minutes after Donald Trump gave that soundbite, and whether India had allowed United Nations mediation. India has allowed that there would be a neutral venue for any further talks with Pakistan. It's a long due that Prime Minister should address the all-party meeting. Political party should be called. Several answers being sought from Prime Minister. But of course, the Congress also lauded Indian Armed Forces. The opposition lauded Indian Armed Forces for the successful Operation Sindoor. But it is a strong message that Prime Minister gave after the entire narrative, the fake propaganda being set by the Pakistani media, completely destroying that, and Prime Minister, giving a very, very strong speech as far as the entire Operation Sindoor is concerned.
Thank you, Aishwarya, for joining us with those critical details. Shiv Arur, to you now. Also help us understand when the Prime Minister says that it's only POK and terror that's on the table if talks have to happen with Pakistan. Clearly, there is also an indication that historical wrongs have to be corrected. Help us understand the significance of this proposition.
I'm glad you asked that, Vasudha, because what the Prime Minister said when he said, if talks happen with Pakistan, they will only be on terror and POK, is one of the hardest stances India has taken so far. Remember, the diplomatic relationship between India and Pakistan has, dwindled down to a bare trickle. The only real point of contact between the two sides during this entire conflict that we've been reporting from here in J&K has been that hotline between the two DGMOs. And when the Prime Minister said talks will only be on terror and on POK, he was drawing a very firm line in the sand and basically saying, you and I are not equal. India and Pakistan are not equal. We've got nothing to talk to you about except these two outstanding issues. So if Pakistan, even fantasizes about a normal diplomatic relationship at some point in the distant future, these are the two issues that must first be sorted out. On terror, it's easy to understand because India has already said blood and water will not flow together. No talks before terror is handled on Pakistan soil. But the POK comment, Vasudha, is one of the most tantalizing. What does it reflect? Is it just a symbolic word, reflecting what the BJP has said in manifesto after manifesto about, taking back POK? Or is it indicative of a larger strategic shift within the system, saying that India's hard stance on the back of Operation Sindoor means that the next provocation, the next escalation, the next deviation from this understanding that has been reached after, 5 days of conflict will be a much larger sort of conventional operation to take back POK. I have a feeling it may be actually a mix of both, because remember, Pakistan occupied Kashmir is not some distant fantasy as far as India is concerned. It is a stated military and political objective, and therefore for the Prime Minister to enunciate it at this time, I think holds huge significance.